Part 2 of the skirt. Work into a chain. Wrap the yarn around your fingers like this. Pinch the yarn tail with your thumb and middle finger. Make slip knot first. Place the hook on the right side of the yarn and twist it anti-clockwise to wrap the yarn. Pinch the crossover of the yarn with thumb and middle finger. Yarn on hook, pull the yarn through the loop on the hook. Pull the tail to tighten the loop. A slip knot is made. Then work 11 chain stitches. Yarn on hook, pull the yarn through the loop on the hook. That's a chain stitch. Such a V shape stands for one stitch. Yarn on hook, pull the yarn through the loop on the hook. The second chain stitch is done. Keep working. We can count the ways to check the number of stitches. (11 chain stitches in total. Row 1 is done. In row 2, turn, skip the first chain. Starting from the second chain, we'll work 10 single crochets through the back loops of the chain. The left loop is a back loop. Turn, skip the first chain. Insert hook through the back loop of the second chain stitch. Hook the yarn and pull up loop. Then yarn on hook, pull the yarn through both loops on the hook. 1 single crochet is done. Place a marker in this single crochet. Insert hook through the back loop of the next chain. Hook the yarn and pull up loop. Yarn on hook, pull the yarn through 2 loops on the hook. The second single crochet is done. Work 8 more single crochets. Ten single crochets are done. Work 1 chain stitch. In row 3, turn the crochet fabric first. Then, through the back loops only, we work 1 slip stitch, 9 single crochets, and 1 chain stitch in turn. Let's start. Insert hook through the back loop of the stitch. Hook the yarn and pull the yarn through the stitch, and then also pull it through the wrenching loop on the hook. That's a snip stitch. Then work 9 single crochets. Insert hook through the back loop of the next stitch, hook the yarn and pull up loop. Yarn on hook, pull the yarn through both loops on the hook. That's 1 single crochet. Mark the first stitch. Keep working 8 more single crochets. The marker and finish the last single crochet. Then work 1 chain stitch. Row 3 is done. In row 4, turn the crochet fabric and then work 10 single crochets through back loops only. The loop far from us is a back loop. Insert hook into the back loop, hook the yarn and pull up loop. Yarn hook, pull through both loops on the hook. Mark the first stitch. Keep working 9 more single crochets. Ten single crochets are done. Then work 1 chain stitch. Row 4 is done. In row 5, turn the crochet fabric first. Then work 1 slip stitch and 9 single crochets through back loops only. Work 1 slip stitch first. Insert hook into the back loop, hook the yarn and pull up loop. Then pull the first loop through the wrenching loop on the hook. 1 slip stitch is done, and then mark the first stitch. Then work 9 single crochets, also through the back loops only. Finally, work 1 chain stitch. Okay. Row 5 is done. In rows 6 to 37, repeat the stitches of rows 4 to 5 in turn for 16 times. Now we'll demonstrate rows 6 to 7. In row 6, turn the crochet fabric first, then work 10 single crochets through back loops only, and finally work 1 chain stitch. Turn single crochets first. Also mark the first stitch. Continue to work 9 more single crochets. Finally, 1 chain stitch. Row 6 is done. In row 7, turn the crochet fabric first, then work 1 slip stitch, 9 single crochets through back loops only, and finally 1 chain stitch. First, work 1 slip stitch through back loops only. Okay. Mark the first stitch. Then work 9 single crochets, back loops only. Finally, 1 chain stitch. Row 7 is done. Repeat the stitches of rows 4 to 5 in turn to finish rows 8 to 37. Row 37 is done.